John, who also am your brother and companion in tribulation, and in the kingdom and patience of Jesus Christ, was in the isle that is called Patmos, for the word of God and for the testimony of Jesus Christ. I was in spirit on the Lord's day, and heard behind me a great voice as of a trumpet, saying, I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last. And what thou seest, write in a book, and send it into the 7 churches which are in Asia, and to Ephesus, and unto Smyrna, and unto Pergamos, and unto and unto Sardis, and unto Philadelphia, and unto Laodicea. And I turned to see the voice that spake with me, and beginning to, I saw 7 golden candlesticks, and in the midst of the 7 candlesticks, one like unto the Son of Man, clothed with a garment down to the foot, and girt about the paps with a golden girdle. His head and his hairs were white like wool, as white as snow, and his eyes were as flame of fire, and his feet like unto fine brass, as if they burned in a furnace, and his voice as the sound of many waters. And he had on his right hand 7 stars, and out of his mouth went a sharp 2-edged sword, and his countenance was as the sun shineth in his strength. And when I saw him, I fell at his feet as dead. And he laid his right hand upon me, saying unto me, Fear not, I am the first and the last. I am he that liveth, and was dead. And behold, I am alive forevermore. Amen. And have the keys of hell and death. Write these things which thou hast seen, and the things which are, and the things which shall be hereafter. The mystery of the 7 stars which thou sawest in the right hand, and the 7 golden candlesticks. The 7 stars are the 7 angels of the 7 churches, and the 7 candlesticks which thou sawest are the 7 churches.
Some visions of Jesus. I know for some here, one of the favourite hymns that people have is Be Thou My Vision, O Lord of my heart. And John has a number of visions, or one complete vision in one sense, but a number of visions of Jesus. It's quite interesting through the book. It's 3 times it's emphasized his state, how he is. That is John now. And in verse 10, as Becky kindly read for us, we find that he's in the Spirit. In the Spirit. Chapter 4, we find there in verse 2, he's in the Spirit. And in chapter 17, again, he's in the Spirit. This time, carried away in the Spirit. On the first instance, he's looking in the wrong direction, so he has to turn around. On the second instance, he's invited to come up higher. And on the third instance, he's carried away. Sometimes God does that with us, doesn't he? He carries us away. He takes us out of our situation. But, here we find that John was in the Spirit. And it's a vital experience to have within our hearts. Not a one-off, but one that we would reside. As Paul says, keep being filled with the Holy Spirit. But here we find that John hears things that he's not heard before. And John in the Spirit sees things that he's not seen before. And John in the Spirit now understands things that he's not understood before. And so we find the essential need for the hearts of the believer to be in the Spirit, for hearing, for seeing, for understanding. It's essential for us to receive from God, and we can only receive from him in the Spirit. To really appreciate what God is, what he was, what he's going to be for each and every one of us, what he's done, what he's doing, what he's going to do. We have to be able to receive from him. Otherwise we'll walk in silence. As David once cried, there are no prophets in the land. And on another occasion he prayed, be not thou silent to me, lest I become like those that go down into the pit. You see, without his voice speaking into our hearts, we're a troubled people. And here John brings out a number of visions for us in a number of chapters, and I just want to look. Anita panics concerning her piano playing. And I've said to her on a number of occasions, why don't you just choose some of the songs that you want to? And very often she'll do what we do when we're at the front. We choose our favourite one sometimes. But one of her fears is that if she gets the hymns wrong, what if my hymns are completely in the opposite direction to your sermon? Now to me, that's not important. I've never looked at it. It's nice when it happens, but it doesn't make a difference as far as I'm concerned. But this morning, she's almost touched on every topic that we're going to look at. So there we are. There we are. We can get it right sometimes, mates. What does John see when he sees the Son of Man in chapter 1? It says he was in the Spirit, and in the Spirit he heard this, what he called a loud voice. And the voice said, I am Alpha and Omega, the first and the last, and gave him instructions. And he says, I turned to see the voice that was speaking to me. And as I turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands. I always find it fascinating that God always pulls a surprise on us. What we're expecting to be there is not there. Well, he is there, but it's not what you see, when John the Baptist shouted out, behold, the Lamb of God, everyone turned, and they didn't see a lamb, they saw a man. And he does it throughout this book. You find John being caught in surprise at what he sees, and so he turns to see the voice of him that spoke, and being turned, I saw 7 golden lampstands. And in the midst of the lampstands, one like unto the Son of Man. Now we know those lampstands represent 7 churches. And we know those 7 churches, each of them, except one really, has faults. On the one that is commended, you have a little strength. The Philadelphian church. And the Smyrna church is one that is commended in its way in which it dealt with the persecutions that she was going through. But each of the churches had their own problems. None of them were perfect. Some of them were in a dreadful state. And yet the amazing thing is this. They were still giving off light. As I've said before, when Brother Andrew was told, no point going to that church down the road when he was in, I think, Czechoslovakia or Russia. No point going to that church. It's a registered church. They're finished. And he went to them anyhow, besides what the underground church had said. He went to them because he felt obliged as a Christian to go there. And he went. And as far as he was concerned, it was one of the most blessed occasions when you gathered together with the Church of God. And so we find here, first of all, he turns and he sees 7 churches who are completely, clearly not right. As we go into chapter 2 and 3, we find the faults that are listed there. And yet they're giving out light. And lo and behold, in the midst of the 7 churches stood one like the Son of Man. Now John describes him. He said, well, when I saw him, he said he was clothed in a garment down to the feet. And he had a band, a golden band around his chest. We find a similar instance in chapter 15, when those 7 vials are about to be opened up. And 7 angels come out from before the throne, and they're dressed in a pure linen garment with a golden band around the chest. And they bring forth judgment. And as we look at the description that John gives concerning John, it's quite clear here that Christ is standing in the midst as judge. I was quite shocked this week when we went to the final chapter of Gideon, and I completely had misunderstood what the final chapter of Gideon was all about. I'll be up in front with you. I said in the meeting, I thought Gideon had lost it. I thought he got it wrong. I thought he got a bit too big for his boots. But I suddenly realized when Andrew went through step by step the different stages of that particular chapter, no, Gideon was right. He was a judge, and he had to judge rebellion in the camp. And here we find we rarely consider Christ as judge. And here he is, girded with this golden band, with a garment down to the foot, his head and his hair white as wool, as white as snow. Even the judges of our land today show their authority, their supreme authority. An authority that can stand in the way of Parliament sometimes. An authority with the whited wig on. He has eyes like flames of fire, feet like burnished brass. Everything about this individual that we have standing in the midst is a judge. And when you see then what the next chapters are, we understand why. Because he's dealing with a church that is falling away. He's dealing with a church that is struggling. To the first church, he said, if you're not careful, I'll remove your lampstand. I'll take the light away. To the Smyrna church, he commends them in the way that they've stood strong. To Pergamos and Thyatira, there are not commendations at all. To Sardis, they're looking good, and yet on the inside they're struggling. To Philadelphia, a church that has an open door before it, but is struggling to get through. You've got a little strength, he says. To the Laodicean church, never mind about the candlestick being taken away. They put Christ outside because he's knocking on the door trying to get back in again. He stands here as a judge. There are moments in our Christian life when we need Jesus, the judge. Because it is he that brings us to that place. They talk of these revival services that went up and down and around the world. And they talk of the fear of God's judgment, with repentings and cryings and tears, with the church putting itself right in a relationship with the Lord and with each other and with themselves. And so the first vision that John has of Jesus is of a judge. The second occasion we find a vision of Jesus, we find that John again is in the Spirit. And in that Spirit he hears that same voice that I heard at the beginning, he said. I recognize the voice. They weren't standing behind him now, because if you remember, I turned to see the voice. He was standing behind him, looking in the wrong direction. He's moved. Aren't you glad that God is mobile? One of the taunts that Elijah said to the false prophets, can he walk? If he can, is he gone somewhere? Is he gone to the washroom? Is that why he can't hear you? Is that why he hasn't answered? He's mobile. And we find now that there's one that spoke to John that was behind him is now speaking from above. And he says, John, come up here. It's a lovely invitation too, isn't it? You come up higher. You see, it's always to go higher, to go deeper, to go further. Always those exhortations in God's Word. To take us further and nearer to Him. I was down in Roskilde on Thursday, and we talked initially about the difference between Exodus and Leviticus. And in Exodus the command is this, Moses, come up here. But in Leviticus it changes, no longer come up, come in here. What a lovely change that is, isn't it? No longer come up. You're on the same level with me now, Moses. You come in here, now into the tabernacle. And here the invitation, John, come up here. You will see things here that you wouldn't have seen before. And a great vista opens up before him. He enters into heaven. He looks through into the door of heaven, sees a throne that's set, sees one that is sat upon the throne, holding, it seems, a scroll in his hand. And in that scroll is the future of planet Earth. And then John hears this voice. But there's a great cry that goes up. Who's worthy to take that scroll and open it up? Who's able to go there with authority and to take the scroll? And no one was found worthy. Elijah was there. Moses was there. David was there. All the great people were there. Deborah was there. Mary was there. All the great saints that have gone before. No one was found worthy. And one of the elders said to me, "Behold, John, don't weep. The Lion of the tribe of Judah has prevailed to take the scroll and to open its seals." Now John is going to look, and he's going to get caught again, because he's expecting a lion to be there. And he turns around and he sees a lamb. He said, "I turned, and behold, a lamb stood in the midst of the throne, as if it had been slain." Everything about it said that it's been slain. And he uses these phrases. He said, this lamb had 7 horns. Horns in Old Testament and New Testament means power. When it's 7 horns, he's all powerful. And then it says he had 7 eyes. Eyes in the Old and New Testament means all-knowing. And he's got 7 of these things. He's all-knowing. This lamb that looks as if it's been slain is all-powerful, is all-knowing, and these are the 7 spirits of God that are sent forth into all the earth. He's present everywhere. And so we see the deity of Christ in this lamb that's holding the future in his hand. Sometimes we need Christ the judge to bring us into life. Sometimes when we don't know what tomorrow holds, we need to know that he's got the future in his hand. He's got the whole world in his hand. He's got you and me, sister and brother, in his hand. And he's able to hold that. Now I know this vision is far deeper than that. I understand that. But we're just going to touch on 3 or 4 things in the book of Revelation that will help us along our way. It might be that you need to consider Christ the judge, if that's where you are as a Christian. You've lost your way. And you need the openness and the honesty of Christ, the true and faithful servant, to stand and lead you into paths that will help. It may be that the future is unknown. And we don't know what it might hold for us. Tomorrow might be a day that we're fearful of. Listen now. It's in his hand. It's in his hand. Moving on from there, he sees another vision. And in this vision, he sees, you see, even though the future is in his hands, doesn't make that tomorrow is going to be a sweet day. It's just that he's got it in his hand. And so we turn to a few chapters on, and we find there that there's a great multitude that comes out of these troubled times that are in the future. A number that can't be even numbered. And they're arrayed in white linen. They've got palms in their hands. And they've come through what the writer calls the great tribulation. Great troubles. You know, there are troubles. But there can be great troubles. And the lovely thought is this, is that there is one standing there in chapter 7 that says this, concerning this great multitude, the Lamb who is in the midst of the throne shall shepherd them. Who better to learn the trade of a shepherd than a lamb? Who better? As I told you before, when I did my apprenticeship, I had to do the lousiest of jobs, and some of the guys in the tarplan made sure I did some of the lousiest jobs. And so there was the cleaning of the toilets. There was the cleaning of the canteen. There was the cleaning of the changing. There were other jobs that were far, far better. There were some jobs that I was terrified of. I could take you to a machine that was about half the size of that area there. And when you'd spin it, it's like a massive washing machine. And it was fitted on springs. It was a centrifuge. And it'd separate the oils. And you'd bring down the load of naphthalene that was above it. And the whole floor would shake. And you'd be like that. Absolutely terrifying as a 16-year-old boy when I was doing that. So there were times that you do some jobs. But if you wanted to learn about the plant, you had to do every job. And here we have one who is a lamb. The lamb who is in the midst of the throne shall shepherd them and shall lead them to living fountains of water. And God shall wipe away all tears from their eyes. There are times we need him as a judge, and I doubt very much, or I should be sure, that there would be tears if he was to come to us as judge. There would be many tears. There are times concerning the future where we are uncertain. We don't know what tomorrow holds, but he holds it in his hand. The Lamb does. But the Lamb is there now. And as he comes to those that have come through great troubles, he shepherds them. He tends them. He leads them to living fountains of water. Life-giving water. And God wipes away those tears. There is a soothing peace that God is able to give. A balm that is far better than even the balm of Gilead. It can sweeten your soul in the most difficult of times. Well, we've had a judge, we've had a lamb, we've had a shepherd. In the East, the shepherd was very often known as a king. You read the book of Ezekiel, you find it quite clearly there, and a number of other books, where the king, even Pharaoh himself, was looked upon as the shepherd of the land. And so we find that this lamb who becomes a shepherd becomes a king. John says in chapter 17, he carried me away in the spirit, and he saw the battle that had been going on for generations, since the very beginning, the spiritual battle that had been going on. But as he looked, he found that there was one who was crowned King of Kings and Lord of Lords. All the nations were arrayed before him, but he is the king. That's a Jewish thing. We have, don't we, the Song of Songs. What it means is the best of all songs. And here we have the best of all kings and the best of all lords. Have you made Jesus your king? They've crowned him King of Kings and Lord of Lords. You see it in the Old Testament, don't we? We see David the shepherd boy who became a king. And here we have Christ, the good shepherd, who becomes a king. Do you need to be brought into life? Do you need to know that tomorrow is in his hands? Do you need to know in the midst of great troubles, he can lead you, shepherd you, tend to you, feed you, and give you water to drink? And there will come a day when those tears shall be soothed. Or do you need a king in your life? King of my life, I crown thee now. Thine shall the glory be. Simple things that we looked at. Excuse me. A judge, a lamb, a shepherd, a king. And John saw one fitting the mold. He is so adaptable, you know. He is so adaptable. There are some things that he doesn't move one iota, but oh, how he adapts and is able to meet each and every need. He is all I need. He is all I need. Jesus is all I need. May that be a sweet, sweet song within your soul today, that you find the Christ as judge. Thankfully for me, I had the kindest of headmasters. I can remember the day when he took assembly and his false teeth fell out. I can remember the school in uproar. But he was a kind man that he could do, in one sense, I would expect a hiding. And he'd take me in and say, sit down there, my man. Where were you yesterday? I was up on the mountain, sir. I know. I saw you, he said. The whole school saw you. And I sticks on my masonry with Bryn Manning. I know, he said. I saw him too. But he had a way of winning you. I only wish that I had a ear to listen to what he wrote, what he'd said, because if I only knew now what I knew, I only knew then what I know now, I think it might have been a different way of going. I don't know. But may God grant to us a heart that will run to Jesus and not feel that we've got no place at his side. Whatever state we're in, wherever we are, whoever we are, God commends his love toward us in that whilst we were yet sinners, Christ died for us. What a Saviour we've got. Well, the time's gone.